Right. Good afternoon, Professor. We're happy to have you here in the studios of Invest Foresight, a media partner of Gaidar Forum, arranged by the Presidential Academy of National Economy and Public Administration. And to start with, I would like to address you with a question on the prospects of artificial intelligence, on the future society where the artificial intelligence technologies are going to be broadly presented or maybe dominant. How do you see such a future, and what place will be left, if any at all, for a human being as we know a human being now?
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I think it's important to make a distinction between two types of new beings that will emerge, right? One will be an intelligence machine, which is what most people have in mind when they think of artificial intelligence. They think of a machine who come to the level of intelligence of a human being and probably surpass it, right? The other possibility is also that human beings will start incorporating technology. And in this sense, we talk about cyborgs. A cyborg is basically a human being that has incorporated technology. And I think that this scenario will develop quicker than we would expect. Most people think of the first.
You mean quicker, starting from those first movies that we saw just a few decades ago?
Yes.
So the future has come already?
Oh, yes.
The one predicted 20 years ago?
Yes,
yeah.
Cyborgs are among us already. Because how do we define cyborg, right? It's a human being with incorporated technology. If I have a pacemaker, I'm a cyborg. If I have a machine in my ear to hear better, which interconnects with my brain, I'm a cyborg, right? And little by little, I think people will choose to incorporate technology if this can help them to enhance their performance. Most of the applications now are in the clinical sector, right? Where we have a prosthesis, or we have some type of a substitute of a capability that we've lost. But the same technology will be able to be used to actually enhance the performance of people who don't have a problem or don't have a disease or who didn't lose a limb. And I think that this is going to be development that will go much sooner than we would expect, right? So at a certain point in time, we can ask ourselves, what makes more sense, to make a machine as a human being?
Or a human being as a machine?
Yes. Because the second scenario, I think, is much more attractive, right? We will not lose our heart, our values, our ethics.
But we don't know what sort of values machines may have.
Exactly.
Maybe those values are going to be superior to ours.
That's a good question as well, right? For certain, they will be smarter and compared with a chess computer, right? They will be able to look at much more possibilities in a decision tree than a human being can do on a short period of time, without any doubt. They have more computing power, right? They can look at much more scenarios in little time. A human being does that as well, but it uses the brain. Let's not underestimate the brain in this whole equation. Okay, if you multiply the number of neurons we have in our brain with the number of neural interconnections, we have more neural connections in our brain than there are stars in the galaxy. The reason why we underestimate human intelligence is that a lot of the intelligence is unconscious or subconscious. We call it intuition. Right? So we could have a wise person with a lot of years of experience of looking at a lot of ethical dilemmas can also make an amazing decisions based on intuition or experience, right? Which doesn't have the calculating power of a computer, but it does have the interconnective power of the computer. So will there be a competition between those two beings, these two new beings? I think not. I think they will collaborate. I think they will collaborate to create a better future. Most of the science fiction movies we see, right, they depict a doomsday scenario where computers take over and they make human beings their slaves, right? I think it's going to be the other way around, right? Which brings me to the second part of your question. Is the human being going to be pushed away? I don't think so. I think the first functions that will be substituted by machines will be tasks that are possible to be automated or to be automatized in some way. That's already happening, right?
It is, but on the other hand, there are tasks and jobs where automatization is quite possible, but very expensive. Therefore, it's not worth doing. And do you think that in some foreseeable future it may change?
I think so, right? I mean, we will come to a point which is very scary to a lot of people, where machines will be made by machines.
And for the benefit of machines?
I don't think so, because machines do what people tell them to do, right? An interesting point where we will, at a certain point we will get to, this is the point I'm most interested in, is where machines become conscious of their identity, right? So I can build a computer, or I can build a sort of a cybernetic type of being that looks like a human being, right? And that through its sophistication of its algorithms comes to the point where it is aware of itself, of its identity. It is aware that it is born and it will die. This is the important point in history. This will be the turning point. But we still have a lot of way to go to get there.
And by the way, when you said that artificial intelligence and machines will be conscious and, well, will they speak one and the same language, common for all, or will they speak different languages and the linguistic divisions thus will remain?
That's a very good question. The computing power of artificial intelligence will reach a point where they can predict the future using algorithms that are so complex that the human being cannot grasp it. It's actually already happening. Right? We already come to the point where some of the algorithms that are created by learning software, right, artificial intelligence, surpasses our capability of the human being to understand what's actually happening. Right?
That's exactly the point made by the movies. So human beings are useless.
Well, they're not useless, because at the end of the point, at the end of the time, right, there is a product that is produced by the artificial intelligence that then the human being will use or not use, right? So let's assume a situation where a computer helps us to make a decision, right? It will give us different possible decisions with different types of probabilities in reaching or not a certain result. There will still be a human being that says, okay, we'll go for this one or we'll go for that one. Right? Where it will become sort of dangerous is when we become too reliant on the computer and on the artificial intelligence. And we put all our trust in this machine. Right? This is a point where it is still interesting. Right? Will the human being take the final decision?
By the way, artificial intelligence may be leading in businesses, may be leading the way in politics, may be leading the way in arts.
Yes.
So do you mean that in some future we are going to have an artificial intelligence as a president in some nation?
Yes, it won't be, I don't think it will be a president, it will be the assistant to the president. Right? I believe the human being will still be at the final stage of the process of decision making. That's what I believe. The machine will always be at the service of the human being, right? But on the other hand, I actually hope and pray that computers and rational intelligence will substitute human beings in some fields, like, for instance, politics. And I will tell you why, right? You can take any type of topic. You choose a topic. right, that we need to solve. Maybe we want to solve the problem of pollution. Let's take that as an example, right? We need the computing power of artificial intelligence to look at the best possible solutions. This should not be a question of political debate. Human beings are so slow in exchanging information to come to an agreement. Human beings are flawed in terms of trying to protect their own identity when identifying or even sort of defending an idea. We should get rid of that. We should get rid of that part of politics which is all about debate and debate and debate. Let's ask the computer, let's ask artificial intelligence to look for the best possible solution and then decide whether to do it or not. Let's take another example, medicine, right?
Yes.
This is an example where we have been much more advanced already. We already are at a stage where surgery can be operated, surgery can be done from a distance, done basically by a computer, which is or a machine, which is much more precise than a human being can be, right? Behind the machine, there is still a human being that has to make the decision now. Cut this tissue and now insert this type of chemical so we can create this type of reaction so we can cure the person. There is still a human being behind it, right? I don't want a doctor to operate on me anymore. A human being is clumsy. A machine is much more precise, but it will be at the service of the human being. The human being will take the decision. So it's about a partnership. It's about working together. This is where we will find a synergy.
The future artificial intelligence and machines and new technologies, they will make our overall economic activity and our economic life more efficient.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Therefore, does that mean that well-being of the general population, not of some portions or percentages of the population, but population in general, will it improve with the efficiency, better efficiency of the robotic economy, let's call it this way, or will it be damaged because people do not find areas to apply their skills and knowledge and everything else? I mean, it's not about even pay, not about jobs. It's just for people being able to generate whatever.
Yes.
Another thing is education. In that new world of machines, do we need education at all? You said that human capacities are insufficient already to grasp the ideas and concepts and things that machines can do. Therefore, there is no point learning. Because you won't catch up with machines anyway. So you just relax and enjoy whatever happens. So is it still the way forward or the way down?
Okay. First of all, I think it's very important to take into account that human beings are wired in their brain, they're set up in their biology to learn. Human beings enjoy learning, right?
Some human beings and sometimes.
Well, those human beings that have lost their interest in learning, I think may have been disappointed by their environment, which was not encouraging their learning. And this happens, unfortunately, right? Sometimes I come across people in companies that are burned out, right? Which is a sign of our times. Because they've been disappointed, they have been moved around like little pieces in a game of chess, and they've lost their perspective, they have lost their sense of meaning, right? And they burn out. But the human being, in essence, and just look at young children, right? They're set up, they're wired to learn, they love to learn. It's an intrinsic motivation. So if machines do work for us, we will still love to learn. But our focus will be on different things, right? We will have more time to think about other things that machines now are taking care of, right? In terms of well-being, right? Look at what are the jobs that are hazardous? What are the jobs that create ill health, right? Systematically, these are the jobs typically that are associated with mass production, with going down mines, right?
Or up space.
Or up space, right? That will be the next step, right? This type of jobs that are hazardous because we're exposed to the elements of nature, they will be now done by computers. So the human being, I think, will experience a better health, right? Also take into account the advancement of medicine, right? The advancement of creation of prostheses that are even better than our own body, right? Think of the cyborg, right, that incorporates new elements in the body, right? So I think well-being on a whole will go forwards. It will be better for the human race, right? But there's a different question, which does create concern for me, which is it will create a new class. It will create new classes, right, of those who have and those who haven't, right? The rich, those who have a lot of economic power, will be able to access these computers, these machines, this artificial intelligence, and will only become more powerful. Whereas a lot of other group of people, and the biggest group of people, may not have access because they don't have the economic power for it.
And will not get it.
It will not get it.
In the new arrangement, social.
Exactly. So here is another turning point in the human race, right? The human being will be confronted with a very important choice, which is, will we make our technology available to everyone? Will it be a right? Will it be something that is a birthright of the human being? Or will it be a privilege of an elite? That, I think, is a crucial question we should ask ourselves. And I'm afraid this decision will be made by politicians, and the politicians will have to and will going to preserve their own privileges. So I'm more afraid of the human greed than I am of the generosity of the machines that will come.
But if we are going to have a most efficient and effective society, and efficiency of it will keep growing.
Yes.
What about greed? I mean, greed is something essential in a human being when something is scarce.
Exactly.
If nothing is scarce and there is abundance of everything, I mean, where would the greed come from?
Very good point. I absolutely agree with you. Let's hope, right, that this turning point I referred to comes in time. It doesn't, in time when I mean the timing will be right, not too early and not too late. Not too early because we are still a very primitive being, the human being, I mean, right? We're pretty primitive. Greed still rules us. So it shouldn't come too early, because if it comes now, it will go wrong.
So we should try to delay it for some while.
Yes. Yes. This is probably the biggest challenge, right? That the changes come too soon. They come too soon for us to actually grasp the implications of it. That's probably the biggest issue we will have to deal with.
But where would you expect a major breakthrough in artificial intelligence technology to come from? Whether it's going to be, well, the US, for example, or Singapore, or, well, Rwanda, all of a sudden. What would you think? Is it some final step in a industrial development of European nations, or just all of a sudden a leap forward from elsewhere?
Well, I think already now, right, we see the breakdown of nations. Just to look at our recent history, right, how nations are starting to sort of fall apart in little pieces and sort of falling back into regions that are closer to the communities we used to have, right? And you can look at Europe. I personally live in Barcelona, right? You can look at Catalonia as an example, but there's a lot of examples around the world, right? I think the nations are coming back to the essence of being ruled by a regional, a community that we understand, which culture and which language we share. It makes much more sense, okay? Look at multinationals. where a car is assembled in different stages by different people from different nations. Nations don't matter anymore. Maybe the car is designed in Germany and then it's given form right in Turkey and then it's produced in Poland and etc., 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 right? Nowadays, nations don't matter anymore. People from different nationalities work together in creating this. Look at virtual communities. Virtual communities don't give about, they don't care about nations. They don't care about what your nationality is. Right? In virtual communities, people come together around a common interest or a common goal, a common dream they might share, right? And they don't care about which nationality you have. So I think nations as a concept will look very foreign and strange to us. A world with kings and borders, I don't think it will make a lot of sense to us in the next 2-3 generations.
So you sound very optimistic, and I hope that our audience will share your views. Thank you very much for your exciting story, I will put it this way, and well, let's look forward that we are going to see at least some of what you have described.
Thank you for these wonderful questions. Sometimes the questions are more interesting than the answers.